Approval of the minutes for the December.
Meeting is starting.
Has anybody had any additions or corrections to this? Do a motion to pass the minutes?
I make a motion to pass the minutes.
A second.
Okay.
All right, so just a review of our January meeting with Town Council. We approved the budget calendar. We'll be approving the budget, having a public hearing in April, just like we did last year. It's an earlier schedule than we used to, because now that the county is collecting our property tax, we have to have it into them sooner. We also had a review of our town audit by SB and Company for FY25. We had a clean, very good financial health audit. Noli's Restaurant came in for a Class B1 liquor license. It's new owners, and they have taken over out at there at Noli's. Meadows at Town Run 2 came in for Phase 4, which is just the 12 single-family homes out closer to the road. We were addressing an annexation petition for the Hall property on Route 5 that was delayed in December. But it was delayed again, and so no decision was made on that. And we also heard the final town public art master plan presentation. If you haven't looked at it, the consultants were here and presented it. It's on our website, and it's a really nice plan. A couple things outside of that I just want to bring to your attention. There is a battle, as we'll say, with the county right now going on about the excise tax. You might have read about it. They're taking their excise tax back to a public hearing. This affects the town very, very seriously. Their legislation was not written to include the town in this excise tax per the state legislators, and they are not going to take it back and readdress it. So the county is trying to, on their own, they've introduced an ordinance to change it and add the town taxpayers to have to collect the excise tax. And this is commercial and residential. There's a lot of information out there that isn't accurate, so I just kind of want to give you a quick brief on it, because there's a public hearing March 10th trying to override what the state delegation authority had given them. I guess they thought when they instituted the excise tax it would affect the town, and it doesn't. So the excise tax replaced the impact fee that they used to collect in 2023. And we used to collect for 20-some years. We collected the Board of Education portion of that impact fee and sent it directly to the county. And when they got rid of the impact fee, our ordinance was written that we would collect the impact fee. We had nowhere to send the money. I immediately started working with the Board of Ed to try to be able to send the money directly to the Board of Ed, and we're still working through that. We also told the county as long as it would be set aside for the schools, we would continue to send it to them. Their excise tax goes into their general fund, so they can spend that money wherever they want. It's not set aside specifically for schools anymore because it's not an impact fee. Additionally, that's about $3,300 per new home that comes in. And then commercial, their retail, so this would impact what we've done for the last 20 years in the downtown. Their impact fee for commercial retail is $4.11 a square foot. The town's building permit fee is 12 cents a square foot. So you come into the town, you want to build a 5,000 square foot new retail space, you're going to pay $600 to the town for a building permit fee. You'll pay your water and sewer fee, which is $24,000. Which we have for everyone, and then you're going to pay $20,000 to the county for an excise tax for a commercial building. I mean, this undoes everything that we've been trying to do with economic development in the downtown. So people need to be aware of this. And we have already agreed that we would continue to send the Board of Ed fee if they would just earmark it for schools. But there's a lot of misinformation being spouted out there, and I think that everyone needs to know what the real facts are before this public hearing. Our attorney says that even if they pass this ordinance, we're not going to be bound by it. It could end up in court, though, which is really sad for a government to be suing another government when they don't really have the authority. The other thing that's on the agenda, on the horizon, is the governor has introduced a had introduced legislation that's going to override local zoning because of the housing shortage that's across across the nation, but Maryland is very severely short of housing. And he is trying to make it so that we can't say no to townhomes in any category of zoning that they're allowed residential. So you can't, if somebody wants to build a townhome instead of a single family home, you can't say no to it. You need to streamline the process, you need to make it easier for them to get through the process. I've even heard talk of some of the fees are gonna be waived on it. So that totally overrides the zoning. MML and MACO are working on this with them to try, not against it necessarily, but how do they make it acceptable to these municipalities. I mean, they may not have water sewer capabilities, all their APFO, adequate public facilities. So, I mean, it really is a problem if it gets passed as it is now. So just keep that in mind when you start hearing things about that. Any
That's
questions?
a lot.
Sorry. I only have your attention once in a while.
Okay, thank you. Our business today, our new business is case number 29-25, G&H Residency Concept Plan. I'll let you go ahead from there.
Well, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. So the project is G&H Residencies. It's a concept plan for 16-unit apartment building, case number 29-25. The owner is Arnrum LLC, care of Joan E. Harris. The engineer of record is Little Silence Rest Incorporated. It's located at tax map 133, grade 4, parcel 293. The existing zoning is commercial business. The proposed use again is 16-unit apartment building. The land area is 0.17 acres or 30,927 square feet. The property is located on the west side of Washington Street, just south of Church Street and across from St. Aloysius Catholic Church. The site development plan is proposing a 3-story, 16-unit apartment building. All water and sewer utilities are present on site, and the sanitary sewer is located on Pope Street, and the public water is located on Washington Street. Just a little background on the property. The proposed site plan meets with the requirements of the Town Municipal Code, Chapter 155, 25, permitted uses, which is item K, multiple family dwelling, with conditioned upon demonstrating a strict compliance with off-street parking requirements of Article 11. The project is required to provide 32 parking spots. This with 2 handicap spaces, which are shown on the plan. Per Chapter 155-28, Standards for Site Planning and Building Design, Section A3, buildings should be oriented to the front streets and place parking at the rear or side of the building. The consultant has worked with the town planning department as far as the rotation of the building, and in order to meet the requirements for parking, the proposed apartment building cannot face the existing road. Based on the right-of-way width of Pope Street being 20 foot wide, the owner is dedicating a 10-foot strip along the rear property line to the town for future improvements of Pope Street. As required per town municipal code, the owner consultant is providing landscaping between the adjacent properties on both sides of the proposed site. The site development plan received concept approval from St. Mary's County Soil Conservation on October 15, 2025, and St. Mary's County Department of Public Works and Transportation on January 26, 2026. The applicant is requesting concept site development plan approval. The Planning and Zoning Commission can vote to approve with conditions, delay, or deny. The Leonardtown planning staff has determined that the proposed concept site development plan is in compliance with the 2025 comprehensive plan and the town municipal codes, and recommends that the Planning and Zoning Commission review the documentation and provide a concept approval to proceed with final design. And I have the consultants present, which is LSR, and then I also have the builder present, which is Mr. Wayne Davis with Wayne Davis Corporation. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have, and then also the consultant and or builder, or even possibly the owners may want to address any questions that you may have. I did include the commercial business district zoning for your review. Also, I did attach, in addition to your packages today, 2 emails that were received from the public, and I'm required to give those to you as well.
Do they have anything they're gonna present to us?
So I presented the package. They have their drawings here, and if you would like, they can come up and talk to you about those. They do not have, to my knowledge, a actual presentation.
Okay.
It's pretty much gonna be the same thing I just explained in the staff report.
Well, I think we all have a lot of concerns about the size of the building that's going into that space. When we worked with Washington Street and anything around town, we tried to have everything fit in with what is on either side. And on either side of this house, I mean, there's houses on either side of this space. I will say in the past, we have been able to work with the people that were building and get something that blended into the town. And specifically, I'm thinking about when Dr. Dillon made his office. He worked with us very closely because he tore down a house, and the building that he put up looks as much like a house as I think an office building can look. And he did make the front look like that was where the entrance to the building was, with his parking in the back. I'm not sure how a 3-story apartment building is going to fit in between 2 houses that are 2 stories high. And also, the architect we'd have to really go into detail about on the architectural search.
Right, so the facades really aren't here for review at this time.
Yeah, I
However,
realize
you're
that.
more than welcome to make comment on those. They would bring the facade portion approval back during final design.
Right.
So, I appreciate that they presented some facades, and I don't think that they meet our guidelines of fitting in with the character of the town, or fitting in with the buildings that are around, the design compatibility of the buildings that are around it. To me, it's a big white rectangle, and so I would, I know we're not approving that then, but I would strongly encourage y'all to bring back a design that is not a big white rectangle, that fits in more with what the town looks like, has more architectural features, and and perhaps the size won't allow that. But my comments are on the facade and the look of the thing, and I would not vote to approve it if that's what we were doing tonight.
Well, we're not doing the facade, but I think that your feedback for that is important to everyone that's present.
Well, what are your comments about maybe making the building smaller?
That would be open to either the builder or the consultant.
Well, when we do, and I'll speak a little bit on the sizing, part of it with the, size of the property and with the parking and everything, kind of how it comes up with the number of units, and it works, with the property and, with the parking and everything. Part of it in doing a project, again, gets down to the dollars and cents of, what you can charge rent-wise and with the construction, and that's part of it, kind of that we could actually have done more units there, doing a few other things. But we felt this, working with the property and with access in and the exit out on Pope Street, worked with everything, from the traffic coming in, you've got, dumpster, disposal coming in, going out, and also, for the safety aspect of what we had there. And the orientation of the building, again, part of that in working the best way, from a safety standpoint, and not having people coming out on front porch and whatever, on the Washington Street side. You give some privacy, but with the landscaping and everything that LSR came up with, and the architect. And again, as far as how the facade works and doing that, we can certainly work with, what you're talking about, to get it more in line if you want, with the, adjacent buildings and that part of it, to do that. But pretty much, we've utilized the property that's there, the cost of the property to make it the best, and
it has to be 3 stories high?
Yes, right. So,
Sorry, you mentioned the rent. What's the anticipated rent cost?
probably can be somewhere roughly around $1,800, $2,000. That's kind of like the going rates. So, and part of it, again, the thought with this, you got a project here in the apartments that people can, work here in town. They don't have to, drive. It's an opportunity, for kind of a walking project, if you will, that people there can work, with the different restaurants and businesses, here in town. And it's pretty much set up more of a younger, the working, that's affordable. And that's kind of the whole part of the thing, everything, you gotta look at all aspects. And it's very important, I think, for the town of Leonardtown to have something, like that, which we have here to do, so.
How many rooms are in these apartments? Are they all the same?
There's several that are, there's about a third of them with that. There are two bedrooms and the others are 1 bedroom. Where they're set up, so. Not set up for giant multifamily type setup. So.
How high are these ceilings?
They're 8 and 9 foot. And the height is roughly about the same as actually a 2-story building with a high, pitched roof, which means 2 buildings on either side, so it's pretty close. There are things that can be done facade-wise that don't,
I mean, does each floor, do they have, 8-foot ceilings, 9-foot ceilings, or?
Yeah, one of the levels is 8 foot, and the others are 9 foot. And part of it, has to be.
Well, if there was no 9-foot ceilings, that would get rid of a foot of the height, right?
Yes, you could, yes.
Would that be something you would consider in a compromise?
I would say probably so.
I mean, that would help.
Right.
I just feel like these houses are going to be so overwhelmed.
So let me clarify, within commercial business, 155 Chapter A, the ordinance says that they can go to 45 feet, which is 3 stories. So,
I know, but I was just hoping they
Okay.
would be kind to us. And maybe help us
Well,
fit it in.
we're not going
because
45 feet, so.
it is an entrance into Leonardtown, and it's just, I don't want people coming to Leonardtown, and that's the only thing they're gonna see, rather than, looking down and seeing our nice square and everything, that their eye's gonna be drawn to this big monster building there.
Yeah.
Is there a height listed someplace?
Well, that's what he just said.
In chapter, chart A, and I didn't put it in there, but in 15527 talks about the height, bulk, and area requirements. And so it is 3-story, 45 feet.
Okay, so it is 45 feet.
It is 45 feet.
Is there any other business or building that you can compare that to while you're driving down Washington as you come into town?
Well, if you, the answer to the question would be prior to getting there, there's the 3-story apartment building right there beside Dunkin' Donuts.
Yep.
Then there is also, I believe, one right across the street here from Town Hall. And then also the white single-family dwelling that is currently there is actually probably, you could consider it 2.5 stories, because it does have a loft at the top of it.
Okay. Yeah, I was as I drive around town, since I live in town, I was looking at that apartment complex that you're talking about, it's right by Dunkin' Donut, and considering that as a part of this conversation today, but it's set back so far off the road, I think that from an aesthetic perspective, you get a different feel as you're coming through the town.
And unfortunately, in the code, it says, since that apartment complex,
Parking in the back.
you want it parking in the back, and you want the building brought all the way to what they refer to as the setback line. Well, in this case, they could not bring this unit all the way to the setback line because there's a Smecco pole and utility line that runs across that. And Smecco has what they call a 10-foot utility easement on either side of that overhead line. So therefore, they can't get up, they can only go to that easement. And so there you have the way the building is oriented. The further away you get from this corner here, the easement widens out to the pole back here. So the pole sits here, and then there's one here, so that easement is angled on that property, if you will.
Yeah, because I mean, that's the other problem is that the houses, of course, are set back there on either side of it. Well, the one house, the other one is not so much.
Yes, again, that's the difference between the venue ordinances.
So we got a very well-written letter, 2 of them, from citizens. Do y'all get to see those, or are those just?
No, I didn't, I just got those today, probably in the last 2 hours, that it did not go out online.
So I'd like to read part of one because the citizen writes it far better than I would. She's far more eloquent, and she does a good job of stating what my concern is. The structure does not meld well with existing structures within the general areas of the town, and dare I say would be an eyesore and a bane to existing longtime residents and businesses. Businesses which have in the past been required to conform to the general feel of a quaint small town. The following is a description taken from a website encouraging visitors to come to Leonardtown. Welcome to Leonardtown, a small southern Maryland town that's big on charm. And then goes on. But I think that captures my problem and maybe some other members' problem with both the size of it and just the look of that building. And again, I know this doesn't apply necessarily to this vote today, but it would to the next one.
I do think it's, if there's a way to, I like what Jean asked about the foot, if there's some wiggle room in height, then perhaps there's some ability to put some roof modulation in there to, I mean, just some things like roof modulation and cornices and even brick along the bottom, just makes the building up here smaller. If 3 stories is what it's gotta be, or what meets the needs of what you're trying to do, it does stick out, you know, I don't think, I think, you know, every time somebody came into town, or even when you're driving down there, you might say, oh, I wish maybe we had done some things on that building. So, there are some really nice things that can just make it look so much smaller, even just pulling out some of the building and putting some back. You know exactly what I'm trying to say. I don't have all the design words, but.
Well, some of that was done when Joe Drury did his building, and we asked for him to modify that one, because that was going to be a flat building, and he took them in and out to make them look like, he actually made his building look like 3 different buildings. But, you know, it did break it up so it didn't look like such a huge, massive box sitting there.
Yeah, because housing is definitely needed, so that's the big check in the box that I see. Leonardtown's a development area, it's where density goes, it's within our code, it meets all the requirements, but making it, you know, fit in would be great, and then maybe reducing the height a little if possible, and just, there are, in the code too, there's a whole bunch of requirements that I think would be a helpful guide to figuring out, you know, what you want to do with changing it some, but it does say that all 4 sides need to be aesthetically pleasing to everybody. So, not everybody in the world, but you know.
Well, I think, you know, we can work with that, and part of it, you know, we kind of wanted, you know, some of the balconies, you know, for people, you know, to be able to sit and see, but we definitely can, you know, some of the things that you mentioned there, I think work with that and bring you back something, you know, for that part, you know, get to that stage to, I think would be pleasing for you, so.
Okay, thank you.
Well, anything else you want to discuss about it?
There's a lot of people here. Did they have anything that anybody wants to say?
He can go first.
What's the overall square footage of the building?
And the total is 18,900, the footprint is 6,300.
Gotcha. And I'm unclear of the orientation of the building to Washington Street. I don't know why that stuff is tucked back there. Can you bring this board around as well as the artist rendering on the bottom of the building so the audience can see it? So where is Washington Street?
It's right here.
Is there? So the side of the building will be facing Washington Street?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, that clears things up for me.
And then that easement, here are the 2
Thanks.
utility poles,
Yeah,
and then there's an easement that runs along that, is the reason why they have to set that back.
got it. And then if you can bring that picture around, that would be great. Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Wayne.
Sure.
Is the marker that's there right now, that stake, is that essentially the setback, like where the side of the building will be? That's in the land right now?
That was where a soil boring was taken for the site, so it doesn't have anything to do with the building
Okay,
location.
thank you.
The
So-
building will actually be back further from that,
Okay.
from the
What's the
street.
distance? I know it's at an angle, but let's say the max distance. Do we have a
Max
number on that?
distance is 2285
Okay.
from the property line, right away line.
What about from the sidewalk? Or is that not on there?
It's a little further than that, it's probably, if I had to guess, it's scale 1 to 10, it's probably 26 feet maybe, additional 3 feet.
So
Are
maybe
you good
it's
with
a-
this now, or?
Maybe there's a possibility of adding plants or something like that.
Well, so there is a proposed microbiome retention facility in the front of this, which will require plantings, okay? So there will be that part of the buffer. And that soil boring that they were talking about is something that I requested for the microbiome retention to ensure that you have the appropriate drainage through the soils.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, though. Substantial planting, good sized plants would help a lot also, besides the look of the building.
Yes, so if you do, propose, first of all, you typically only plant understory trees in microenvironments. You don't wanna, they don't get all that tall, but they're, in some cases be 18, 20 feet maybe. They're not tall trees by any means, but it would offer screening, yes.
And, oh, sorry.
I was gonna say, if people are walking to town though, then if it's a side that's facing town, then there's no door that goes out, that you wouldn't have a sidewalk that would go out from there, would go out from, for us, I mean, like, if this is Washington Street, then it would go from here around.
Yeah, so the main entrance would be here, and Washington Street runs here.
Okay.
And is the, kind of on the back, close to Pope Street, does that say rear yard? What is that rectangle? It's not parking.
The blue area, because that's another microbiome facility. And one of the comments was that they are going to be donating an additional 10 feet here to the town for Pope Street improvements.
Okay.
Future improvements.
Yep, I heard you read that, so that helps to kind of fill in what that
That
means.
fixes some, I mean, that's only 20-foot right of way back there. At that point, it will increase to 30, which helps relieve some other issues.
Right, because that's gonna put a lot of traffic on that little road. For, having that many people driving in and out there.
Gotcha.
Well,
There's another gentleman with
Yes,
his
sir.
hand up.
Hi.
Actually.
Thank you. Tom Wilson, my name. Be nice if we could add a Washington Street address to your display there. Got the deed number and the plat number, but for a lay person like myself, it's a little hard for me to look
So
all that up.
a 911 address has not been assigned to the property at this point.
Do you have an idea?
Yeah, it's in the works. Once they go through get the concept, then I can request a 911 addressing from the county.
Yeah, right, okay. I'm all about getting more power out of the economic engine that drives Leonardtown. I can remember when we first put the bypass in, I thought we were gonna lose old historic Leonardtown. I mean, it went downhill quick. But fortunately, people have worked hard to bring it back. And kudos to Mr. Davis's company. They've built some really nice looking architecture around town. To me, that has really added to the appeal of living here. I was a little surprised to see the starkness of the proposed design. May I put that back up, or would you put it back up?
I'm certainly, yes, sir.
As an engineer, I love that building. It's 4 squares, 4 corners, and a flat roof. A lot of small apartments, so there's revenue, has a lot of revenue density. A lot of money's gonna be made on that. Plenty of money's gonna be made on that building, so I think you've got the margin to put in the improvements that we're all asking for to improve the aesthetics of it and make it fit in town better. Personally, I like to see some more of that done up front before we let this train get too far down the track and get too many approvals in place. And then right at the last minute, we push through, a final design. It'd be nice if we had a little more upfront information on it, know what to expect. I guess that's about all I got.
thank you. Yes?
Hi, I'm Candy Farron. Lived in the town for over 30 years now, walk it all the time. And I love the character of our town. People come to my house. I'm the house right behind the front porch restaurant up on the hill. We changed our design of our house to look like an old style house. I see this, it looks like a beautiful building. I'm not gonna disregard the work that's been put into this. It's a very nice building. Does not go in the character of that street. I am very concerned about the parking. You said 32 parking places. My house alone, we have so many cars in and out. You have friends. When you live in town, they all want to come to your house. You need a parking place. This is the same thing. People want to come. They're going to be like, oh, I want to come visit you. Where are the extra parking places for them to come visit the people that want to be in this apartment? I think about trash services. Nightmare on my street. It has a hard time getting in there. I walked over there today wondering how in the world is a trash truck gonna come out? Where are you gonna put 32 receptacles for this unit? Because coming out of that back street, they
Well, they
can
wouldn't
hardly
have
make the
32
turn.
receptacles.
Pardon me?
They don't have 33. An apartment building like that would have a dumpster.
So I don't know where it's at on the site plan.
So-
I just know making that turn, they are
This
terrible
dumpster
drivers.
sits right here.
Okay,
So truck would come in, service the dumpster, and could either turn around and go back out, or it can come through Oak Street and out. To address the parking lot, our zoning is 2 parking spots per unit, okay? Now, that zoning is not based on every single person having 2 vehicles. It's an average of how many vehicles are serviced for every unit. So the magic number really might be 1.67 or something like that, but we go to 2, so.
I'm not satisfied with that though. It's not realistic to know an apartment's only gonna have 1.5 cars. It'll be 2, and it doesn't allow for growth for people to have people over. I look at those couple little houses they built over on Church and Lawrence Avenue. I don't know how they're gonna be parking over there. I just blows my mind, and I think it's just a repeat. And I don't know, I don't know why every inch of space has to be built up. I wouldn't even be opposed to some nice historical looking houses that maybe are duplexes or something that
But
fits
that's
in
not
there.
part of the smart growth plan, that's
Okay.
a state.
My other problem is lighting. It's gonna be pretty bright. You have a 3-story building, it's probably gonna be pretty bright with parking lot lights. And, apartments breed children. I work at that little Leonardtown Elementary School. I know, more kids. We are already getting full. Our high schools are past capacity. Leonardtown High School is a nightmare with how many children attend there. When it comes to town water and sewer,
Those things are all addressed.
we have a lot of problems on my street, and
They
water.
meet all those requirements are met.
Well, it's the unforeseen, like the other day, I woke up to no water because something broke, a water line broke.
But
from
that's
the-
not what we're here to discuss
Okay.
today. We're here to discuss this concept plan and the building that's gonna be put there.
Okay.
And they meet all those requirements.
I see that. As a town resident, I'm just not happy to see something that is not
That's a
pleasing.
different issue.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Mac?
Yeah, Greg Tellison, thank you. Excited for the growth in town, I'm happy, it seems like it's new money, I know it's county money, but it's new people coming into town, kind of excited for some opportunity there, so, thank you to the family that's interested in investing in Leonardtown. I think I've heard a lot of alternative suggestions, wish list items people are asking for. I also heard an unrealistically low rent estimate, like $1,800. That's really low. I doubt it'll come in at $1,800. I think when you get to your facade process, you should be asking for 2 alternatives: the wish list and what the rent would be associated with that wish list of items, where you're talking about facade improvements, when you're talking about going from 3 stories to 2 stories because you're gonna increase the acquisition land cost to less units. If you want those alternatives, you can surely get those priced in, but I think you should be realistic on how it's gonna drive the rent, because Lawrence Avenue, those came to market at $3,200 a month, and everybody in the county laughed at it. But that's the realistic cost it was to develop those properties. So when you ask for facade improvements, I think we should have two alternatives. I think the consultant, WM Davis, can figure that out. Not a huge list of alternatives, but you should have two. What's the cost of a white building? Lowest rent, maybe they can get you $1,800. Still doubtful. That's gonna be probably around $2,400. That's more realistic. But if you do a lot of improvements, you're gonna push an apartment over $3,000, and I don't think that's affordable. So I think you gotta weigh the alternatives. If you go to that site plan on Washington Street, there's a grass median. So the cars coming out onto Washington Street are only gonna be able to take a right-hand turn and then have to make a U-turn. Is that the plan?
Yes,
Okay, so the town will not be changing the grass median.
we have no intention of changing it.
Okay, so
It's also the reason we left the exit out on the Pope Street.
on the Pope Street. Yeah, I don't mind. Thoroughfare, Pope Street's gonna use that as a thoroughfare. They use other properties on that street as thoroughfare. Just be mindful, maybe a speed bump for the developer, because they'll run through your little parking lot just for convenience. We put up no parking, we put up all types of stuff. They still run through our property. So I would suggest maybe some speed bumps. It would slow the through traffic there. Grass medians, parking's good. Electric utilities, SMECA's probably gonna have you put utilities underground anyways when you run new utilities to the property. Couldn't SMECA on the easement potentially drop that electrical line underground across your property, since you're already gonna be putting things underground? I would ask SMECA for that as an option when developing your property, to eliminate that electrical line going across your property. Probably would change your easement as well if you actually reached out to SMECA and consulted them. So those are the only things I have, but I would ask for two alternatives when doing the facade review.
Thank you.
Just that, traffic, amount of cars has come up a couple times. So I realize that we're here to talk about the zoning, the development standards, and the design. But I do remember that we voted for Dairy Queen to go in, and it passed by one car. And that was during COVID, according to estimates. Again, as a person that lives in Leonardtown, the more people that we put in here, the harder it is becoming to move around town, and the frustration is rising. I think from a parking availability perspective, and just like the way you feel when you're walking around this, how did Chief say it? The small Maryland town with big charm. So is there room to have conversation with regards to traffic, or is that something that goes on to the town council when they have this discussion? Just asking, like, educationally.
Well, a traffic study hasn't been required for the project, so I don't think that it gets presented to the town council for that type of thing. So this project will come back to you for final approval.
So this is something that one of the residents brought up, like those unintended consequences that maybe we're not addressing. So anyway, I just wanted to bring that up as well, because I use the one light that gets us in and out of town frequently, and the traffic is starting to get longer and longer, and it is pretty rough to deal with. And then when we have our town events, like, how does that impact it? How do we, move traffic around the town events when we're letting the residents get in and out while we've shut down everything else? I think there's a little bit of a conversation there as well. Anyway, just wanted to throw those out there for consideration.
Again, it's not required to have the traffic study because it's a single lot, already has a development right, so commercial business. I certainly, I'm not sure how to address that, to tell you the truth, as far as, I don't know that we can warrant a traffic study being done.
If I could just,
Yes,
so,
ma'am.
I mean, one of the things we've worked really, really hard on over the last several years is working toward our comp plan, which some of you participated in. And parking is certainly very, very important. We have located a couple of different sites that we're looking at for a parking garage. We know where it needs to be located. We've had consultants look at it. It's just the cost of it. We just recently purchased some trams that we're hoping will be running around town to the various lots to help out now that we have so many restaurants and things like that. They're actually on site. We're putting a program together for the summer. This has been an infill lot for, 25, 30 years in our plans as a commercial development. And, we do push them up to the sidewalk and have certain requirements in the downtown, but it has its zoning rights, and, they've met all of their requirements. As a whole, we are trying to address different issues with the parking, and, I think they've done their share. They're not asking for relief or anything. There's, it's really the commercial that's driving the parking for the most part, because this site is gonna have 2 spaces per unit. They're 1 and 2 bedroom units. That more than is adequate for anywhere you go and look at the zoning. So I think you just really need to consider the economic development factor of it. This town was dying until we started getting apartments above some of the restaurants. If you look at the Seymour Town building, which is Sweet Bay's building, where Antoinette's Garden is, the PNC Bank. Now there's activity at night. That's what you want in a downtown. And for these businesses to survive, they need to have that business. This will actually save people from driving because they live in town, they can walk to the restaurant. So, it really is fully an economic development project, and it is meeting what we put in our comp plan that everyone participated in. So we're a development district, Lexington Park's a development district. This is where the growth is supposed to be. We are challenged with Route 5 because it's a state highway, and Route 245, but we challenge that every day, and we try to work with them and, do the best we can. There's a light that's approved at the Tudor Hall entrance across from Clark's Rest. That'll make a connecting road back to the downtown. We'll get another avenue out. We've been pushing for that light for 15, 20 years. We did all of our planning around it. That's the reason Clark's Rest and Leonard's Grant connect to each other and go out to Hollywood Road. So, it's all about, if we don't grow, we're gonna die. And, there's the housing need. So you just have to weigh the options, and this is where the growth is supposed to happen. And that's why new businesses are coming to town.
I personally think that it's been shown that they've met all the zoning, they've met the design standards. I don't think anybody's arguing that for sure. As far as we need this, personally, I'm not sure where the condos and where the apartments sit. What percentage of vacancies do they have? And so is this a need? I guess I've said this before, and I think I'm pretty passionate about it. When we make decisions, this is for another generation. And the town is growing at a pace that I know some consultants said there was spillage in the money, and we want to bring it in and we want to capture that. And I get that. But at the same time, this is a volunteer spot for me. I feel like I am protecting and taking care of where I live. And so I just want to do the right thing that's best for the community. Like I said, I'm a volunteer up here. Nobody's paying me. And so it feels like we're forcing something to me. But if we're following all of the rules and everything is legal, that is certainly something I consider. So then it brings us back to the design. And the design is where we have flexibility to compromise, I think. I don't know exactly how to do that today, but, and from a parking, just real quick, from the parking perspective, I guess my point was not just parking, but it's the flow of traffic through town that is getting more and more frustrating. So we can build a parking garage. It's not gonna solve that problem. That problem is just gonna get worse and worse until the infrastructure of the town changes a little bit, which with the new traffic light and when Tudor Farms developed, maybe that'll be the case.
Does anybody
Would you have?
Jim Hiles, I live in the house right behind own the home right behind where your dumpster's gonna go. So I have a lot of commitment to Pope Street or Pope Alley. And I just wanted to add to the commentary, just one minor point, which is I really appreciate the work of the buffer zone. And Pope Street already has, and I'm not throwing rocks at you, John, you already got like dumpster alley at the end behind the pub. And there's other places where we've developed right in the couple blocks right around there that, and I think it might have been you that sort of that said, it just becomes a pass-through. So I really appreciate the effort to minimize or to mitigate turning Pope Street and the ins and out around this property into dumpster alley, driving through a parking lot, because that's not what it is now. And my own opinion of the white building is the same as many here. So I appreciate your efforts to stay with the town, but I didn't want to get another voice out about the surrounding area, which could easily go in a really bad direction there. Right now it's a super walkable little alley, but it is an alley, and it teeters on the, like, okay, I'm walking past 5 dumpsters when I walk down it. Thank you.
I think we're gonna have to cut the comments short at this point, and I think it's time for us to make a motion.
Well, what flexibility do we have in the motion with facade?
You can approve, delay, deny, you can make suggestions of conditions.
Even though that wasn't part of what we were talking about.
Well, so the project is here for concept approval, and if you're gonna address, I think that you've given them, this is my take on this, is that you've given them a handful of items that they need to possibly take a look at. The end result for me is I can only report the facts of the project to you, okay? And from the planning department standpoint, as Mr. Lawson has said, they've checked the boxes, okay? The facade items and the things that you've talked about there as far as facade would be the next process in when they bring it back for final design. So they've heard you, and I would submit that if they don't address those items, then they have the potential of being denied at the final stage.
Is it possible, again, apologies, this is for my education, is it possible to have some sort of follow-up meeting prior to the next presentation so that we don't say, hey, these, because we've kind of broadly said things, but I think it's unfair to have them guess at what that would be.
Well, I think that they could make a very educated guess from what we've been saying, especially for Wayne Davis, who has worked with the town a lot and knows how we felt about all the other projects that happen here in town. And yes, this is something that they'll have to bring back and we'll have to approve at that time. But this is just the concept that we're approving today. Does that answer your question at all about it? You know, we really can't put anything in there now about the architect part.
Okay. I thought maybe
Could I
we could just.
just mention one thing? I think the idea of maybe an interim meeting showing you know, what we've come up with, you know, from your comments, and I agree, I wouldn't want to get down to the end of the thing and everybody throws their hand up, what the hell, you know, I don't want to do that, believe me. My reputation and Joan's reputation, you know, we're here to make it work for you, and I would suggest, you know, like an interim thing, we get some ideas together to present, and, you know, to have you take a look at it.
has that ever happened before? I don't know.
I've never done that, but you know what, I actually think that it's a good idea. And I think that way there's less expenditure for the client and it minimizes cost at the end. I've done design for 44 years and one thing I really disliked is when I got to the end of the project and they're telling me you need to change it.
Right.
And I've spent thousands of dollars doing it, so I don't
Right,
think that's
the
unreasonable.
architectural problem, I mean, the architectural review that you bring to us is very expensive for you to have done. And that's why we'd like to be able to give as much input before you come with your final.
No, I understand what you're saying, and I agree.
Yeah.
They can come back as many times as they want for a preliminary presentation. I mean, we don't, there's gonna be several months of detailed engineering going on, so whenever they're ready, they
I think we
can request to be on the agenda. It's not a
So I
problem.
mean, could they then, because the way the function of the meeting, you could essentially give a conceptual approval with condition of bringing it back for a look for facade? I mean, would that be appropriate?
I
No,
think you
no,
can't.
that wouldn't be appropriate. Because I know the way this works is they get approval quickly here, and then they push it down the road, and they get the next approval to push it down the road. I
What
think-
were you gonna say?
I was gonna say that this, today, your decision really is, I mean, you've got to give feedback. We can put it on the agenda not for a decision for facade, but I think you have to address the concept approval, that they've met the requirements, and not facade. They didn't have to bring a drawing today, but it's to everyone's benefit, as everybody said. You can approve the concept plan, they can ask to be back on the agenda, not for a decision, but more feedback. Are we going the right direction? Is this what you were looking for? You don't have to approve anything until final site plan, but at least let them know. We're not gonna put it on the agenda, it's just for discussion, you're not gonna make a decision necessarily, just give them some feedback. So that happens, there's nothing wrong with that at all.
That ends my question.
Yeah.
Who's moving?
Who's moving? So we're approving a concept site plan approval for this project, right? That's what the motion is? Okay, I'll make the motion to approve concept site plan approval for case number 2925 G&H Residences concept plan.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay.
Who was the second, I'm sorry?
She they were fighting over it.
Yeah, she can choose one. Well, you got your work cut
I'm
out
not
for
working
you
on
now.
it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you for everybody in the community that came. We do appreciate that. Our other businesses are review of the monthly in-house permits from December and June. And did you have any questions about any of those?
No, ma'am.
I just saw my neighbors being put up a shed.
Is that what the $1,000 Gary Jackson is about?
I'll have to ask him about it. All right. Any other comments about anything? Motion for adjournment then?
I make a motion to adjourn. Aye.
All right.
Take care.